All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're doing a full countdown of the most popular Indian ice creams. And honestly, we're going to uncover a pretty shocking truth that's been hiding in plain sight, literally right there on the labels in your supermarket freezer. We'll be ranking them from worst to absolute best, cutting straight through all that slick marketing noise to see what's actually inside these everyday treats. So let's kick things off with a slightly unsettling question about those treats you and I have been eating for years. You know the drill. You grab a cone or a stick on a blazing hot day, completely trusting the packaging. But what if I told you that some of the biggest, most trusted names on the market are legally not even classified as ice cream? Yeah, seriously.
Well, the legal baseline here is actually super simple. According to the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, real ice cream must start with milk. Specifically, it needs a minimum of 10% milk fat, period. If the front of the pack doesn't explicitly say ice cream or made with milk, something is definitely amiss. And as you'll see in just a second, a ton of popular brands are totally bending these rules, which forces them to use a completely different, frankly much less appetizing name on the back of the wrapper.
All right, starting at the bottom with categories 1 and 2, the frozen dessert deception.
These guys are the absolute worst offenders on the market. Brands sitting in our lowest tier, like Quality Walls and Cream Bell, literally substitute real dairy with cheap vegetable oils, usually palm oil. But here's the kicker. Because oil is liquid at room temperature, they have to process it with hydrogen gas in a lab just to give it that solid, creamy texture. And guess what that creates? Trans fats, which, as we all know, are a major risk factor for heart issues. So instead of ice cream, you're eating what is legally termed a frozen dessert. It's basically an industrial block of fat. Yum, right?
But wait, the deception doesn't even stop at the dairy. If you check the back of, say, a Feast wrapper, you'll uncover another sneaky trick. You aren't even eating real chocolate. Authentic chocolate requires rich, actual cocoa butter. But to cut costs, these companies solidify cheap edible oil, mix it with cocoa powder and a bunch of sugar, and just slap it on the outside. So if the label says compound coating or choco coating or outer layer, it is 100% an oil-based fake. The only thing you ever want to see are the words chocolate coating. 5. That is the staggering number of teaspoons of sugar packed into a single, tiny, 58-gram stick of these bottom-tier treats. Think about that for a second. And to make matters worse, this often isn't even normal sugar we're talking about. It's industrially prepared corn syrup, very cleverly disguised right there on the ingredients list as liquid glucose or maltodextrin. Moving right along to category 3, the commercial showdown.
Now, these mid-tier products do actually qualify legally as ice cream, but they still hide some pretty wild secrets. Let's play a quick game, shall we? If you're craving a fruit bar between Amul, Vadilaw's Bada Bite, and Baskin-Robbins, who do you think makes the absolute cleanest mango stick?
Okay, let's look at the data. Believe it or not, Baskin-Robbins actually wins this round. They boast the highest fruit content at 26%, and check this out, 0 added palm oil. Vadilal has decent pulp, sure, but then they totally ruin it by sneaking in 15% palm oil. And Amul surprisingly falls incredibly short here with a measly 3% mango pulp, relying super heavily on high glycemic sugars instead. Kinda shocking, right? However, let's zoom out and look at the broader picture for your General Tubs and Kulfis. In this arena, Amul actually takes the crown back. When you compare the primary ingredients, Amul's very first listed ingredient is actual milk. Plus, they use white butter instead of vegetable oil. Competitors like Baskin-Robbins and Vadilal, they literally list water as their first ingredient. So for your standard vanilla tub or a matka kulfi, Amul is a massive step above the rest of the commercial pack for sure. All right, a super crucial point before we leave the commercial tier, and consider this a massive warning. You might be tempted by the quote-unquote sugar-free options from Amul, Cream Bell, or Mother Dairy, especially if you're diabetic. Just avoid them entirely. These options so often use artificial sweeteners like sucralose or maltitol, which are notorious for severely upsetting your stomach. Honestly, they can end up being way worse for your body than regular sugar. Next up, we have category 4, the clean label champions. These are the premium commercial ice creams, the ones that easily earn a solid 8 out of 10 for their purity and transparency. Take Natural's mango ice cream, for instance. This perfectly shows exactly how minimalist an ice cream should be. We're talking just 3 natural ingredients: milk, mango pulp, and sugar. That's it. No artificial flavors, no synthetic colors, absolutely no emulsifiers, and 0 mysterious chemical numbers. It really highlights just how much unnecessary garbage other brands stuff into their products purely to extend the shelf life. And the good news is, they aren't alone here. Brands like Nick follow this exact same pure ingredient philosophy, typically sticking to just 3 or 4 real ingredients. Grameen's Decima Lai Kulfi stick takes it even further, containing literally nothing but milk and sugar. It's fantastic! These brands absolutely prove that commercial ice cream doesn't need to be filled with a laundry list of lab-made chemicals to taste amazing. And finally, we arrive at Category 5, the ultimate DIY alternatives. Guys, these are our 10 out of 10 winners. If you want absolute, complete control over your health without sacrificing an ounce of taste, these empowering, healthy, and frankly incredibly easy homemade alternatives are 100% the way to go. Just look at how effortless this is. In 3 simple steps, you get a totally guilt-free dessert. Freezing sliced bananas and blending them mimics that exact creamy, cold, fatty texture our brains are craving when we want ice cream. Throw in some peanut butter and cocoa powder and boom, you have an instant, healthy chocolate treat. And you can just sweeten it naturally with a bit of jaggery or dates. Oh, and here is a fantastic pro tip for you. If you want to really elevate that simple banana base, try mixing in some majestic dates and hazelnuts. This combination creates this amazing, chewy, caramel-like texture and a perfectly satisfying crunch. I'm not kidding, it tastes exactly like a premium Ferrero Rocher dessert from a fancy 5-star hotel, but it's completely free of those gross industrial oils. Now, if you're in the mood for something truly unique, you've got to try this chilled oatmeal dessert. Surprisingly enough, this rich mix fully satisfies those sweet cravings. Plus, there's a really fascinating physiological benefit here. Commercial ice creams actually heat up your liver, which is exactly why you often feel incredibly thirsty right after eating them. But this chilled oat and gulkin mix, it naturally cools your body down from the inside out. I know protein ice creams are super trendy right now, but the commercial ones are just packed with artificial stabilizers. Instead, you can whip up this luxurious DIY version. By blending fresh paneer chena with traditional ingredients like cardamom, saffron, and some soaked dried fruits, you get this incredibly calcium-packed ice cream boasting a massive 25 grams of protein. And the best part? It tastes just like an expensive traditional Rajbhog ice cream. It's a total game changer. And for those ultimate lazy days, we all have them. We have the spicy watermelon popsicle. There's literally no blending and no molds required. Just slice up some fresh watermelon, insert a stick, brush it with a quick mix of honey, lemon juice, and black salt, and toss it in the freezer. That's the whole shebang. It delivers a perfectly refreshing, sweet and spicy frozen treat that absolutely delights everyone who tries it. So I'll leave you with this thought to mull over the next time you find yourself standing in the frozen aisle, armed with everything we just learned about compound coatings, hydrogenated palm oils, and liquid glucose. Are you ever going to look at a commercial wrapper the same way again? Probably not. And more importantly, which of these clean 10 out of 10 homemade recipes are you going to try making first? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. And as always, stay curious.